scheduled for one fall with no time limit.
Super hot fire!
The greatest spectacle in podcast entertainment, Mr. Nestlemania.
That was literally verbal diarrhea. I'm setting the bar awfully low. Titus O'Neil keeps running directly into that bar. Get him off my TV, get him off my TV. You make me very angry.
The man who has a better IQ than you, the awe-inspiring JC.
You should go work for WWE because you'd be so up far up Vince's butt.
No.
Oh, you are such a sucker. You defend everything, all the bad moves they make.
This is the Jobber Knocker Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest edition of the Jobber Knocker Podcast. As always, it's Nestlemania, and back from his vacation in Lobster Land is the one and only, honestly. There's only one of him, folks. JC. JC, thank you for gracing me, I guess, with your presence via the phone.
I'm back, and I'm better than ever. Woo! Nestlemania, I am fired up. You know what, that week off, not only did I get to eat lobster and just lounge around and do nothing on a hammock and all those things, but I'm fired up. I'm refreshed. A week off from wrestling did me good, and I hope you're ready for the power of positivity today, baby.
I hope that you didn't really take all of that large coffee that you said you had.
Oh, I did. Dunkin' Donuts messed up my order in the good way. I always try to get a medium because the large is too much, but they gave me a large, and I drank it, and here we go.
So we're going right to the Shine where everything's happy, go lucky, everybody's ready to do this. Always in the Shine as you do your Mandy kisses and whatever you do. So we're going to start off because you're Mr. Positivity. Go right ahead. Take over the show.
So I actually liked a lot of things this week on both shows, but I'm going to start with something that, you know what, you don't always expect to enjoy this. And I think that's why a lot of these times when I see something like this and I enjoy it, it really catches me off guard. But Lashley versus Ali, man. Once again, Bobby Lashley against like the little flippy guys, like a ton of fun. It obviously started with, I didn't get to talk about this last week because I wasn't here. But the Hurt Business, I think, is a fantastic name. I love it. Of course, they add the most prestigious champion in WWE in Shelton Benjamin, who, by the way, fended off R-Truth and Ninjas during that Lashley match. What job he's done retaining that title. Lashley actually murdered a Ninja too, which was probably a great spot. But all these little pieces are why I love this match, because also between the ropes, these two put on a show. We know Ali's amazing. Lashley, as we've seen against Ricochet and other smaller guys, can really, really hang with them. I know a lot of people were upset that Lashley tapped him out, but come on. You guys really think Ali is going to go over Lashley? I thought he looked great in this match. I enjoyed it. It was my favorite part of the week.
I got to give you the props here because you've been calling Ali Mustafa Ali forever, and when Truth finally said it, I burst out laughing, and I there's no way that correlation doesn't come back to the Jobber Knocker. There's absolutely no way. It might be that I have a blind love for ourselves, but seriously, when I laughed out loud, I was like, JC is going to love this entire thing, and the segment was good too. But I will say, watching Ali, his presence in this promo, the way he walked the ring, the facial expressions he has, he's been away for about 6-7 months. It's nice to see him. He was almost my comeback this week. Obviously he came back a couple weeks ago, but it's just, there's something about him that I think he's an absolute star if pushed correctly. I can see a mid-card championship like a IEC or US title on him. He just looks good. Obviously, he has the ethnicity that obviously checks a lot of boxes. He was a former police officer. He's got a great background story. And just to see him fly through the air, I mean, now we get to the crux of in between the ropes of how fluid he is. I'm not going to gush over him too much because then we get into a certain thing that basically means I curse him. But there's a fluidness to the man that reminds me and he's not in the same vein. It's just the fluidity hasn't been as good in wrestling since The Rock. Like, The Rock was fluid. Like, everything he did seemed very nonchalant, easy, just never broke up and had that rough and tumble. It was just really clean and crisp. And Ali has that kind of slippery kind of just gel with everything that he's doing and makes everything look effortless. So when he's on my television screen, he's definitely somebody that I'm very excited to see. And I'm excited that he's back in that role of being kind of more outspoken instead of just being the every dude.
Oh, no, I completely agree with that. I think Ali could certainly be a star. It's obviously been on again and off again with him. And you know what, though? I think his run on Raw is going to be better with that extra hour to work with. He's going to get time. I like him feuding with the Hurt Business. I think Ali could get a title shot possibly at Summerslam against MVP, who might not be the U.S. champion if Apollo Crews is out. Who knows? But I think it's exciting things on the way for Ali. But you know what else Ali is really good at, like you mentioned, is selling. I remember that RKO from SmackDown earlier in the year. That was great. And you know what? I said his name, so that's where I'm going next. Randy Orton kicks off Raw. He wants a title match at SummerSlam. We find out before the main event that McIntyre's ready for him. He accepts. I thought that was one of McIntyre's best promos. It was short. It was succinct. It was fiery. It was powerful. And then he seamlessly transitioned to his now non-title match against Dolph Ziggler, which he picked an Extreme Rules stipulation. And, you know, obviously here on the Jobberknock, we're kind of Monday Night rerun. But I was all for this rerun because, once again, these two put on the show. Their chemistry is just fantastic in the ring. And the finish, man, that Claymore through a table, I loved it. Loved it.
So here's what I have to say about it. The match itself, I have nothing wrong with it, right? Like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. The head scratcher for me was that I thought it was a rematch for the WWE Championship. And then they just, quietly swept it under the rug. And I don't know if that's true or if I just misconstrued everything. I don't know if you watched it and thought differently.
No, so they changed. They obviously, when they announced it, it said it was for the title. But during the week, they changed it at some point. It just became a non-title match. Clearly, because we know some people like to change their minds. But so that's why, because they announced it a few days before, it didn't bother me as much. But I definitely get it, because obviously it was funny that it seemed like Drew was just ignoring him. But once you realize it was a non-title match, it makes more sense. But you know what? We wanted McIntyre Orton. This is probably the SummerSlam main event. This or Fiend versus Braun. So I'm glad they're getting right to it. So we have multiple weeks here to build, because WrestleMania, I think the build for this match is going to be really, really good.
So here's the bad part of this entire thing, and I think it's something that we saw throughout the week, and I'll get into it in the heat, sure, more, but this is kind of a taste of how I feel. You know, we could have had Randy Orton just be the RKO at the end of the night. You didn't have to have Randy Orton plant his flag at the beginning of the show, because then it made me feel like it just felt like okay, Dolph Ziggler. Like, we all know Dolph Ziggler's not winning this match, but you could have done more with that entire 3-hour build-up and just say, hey, like, we're giving this guy a shot. We're gonna make you believe that this guy actually has a shot. Like, the fact that they took it's non-title, they took it away. It just makes it feel like they just don't trust him, or they just don't care. They've moved on to something, and this flip-floppiness of it all just made me kind of like hate the whole fact that this was happening, and I didn't understand what was going on, and it just felt like, okay, Randy Orton's coming out and saying, yeah, at SummerSlam I'm taking the WWE Championship because I woke up this morning and I wanted to be champion. Like, the promo was great, but it just felt like that happened, and then when Drew came out, again, before the match, he was basically making a reference to Randy Orton, and then, oh yeah, I have Dolph Ziggler tonight. So I just felt like if it's the main event of Raw, it made me feel like, well then shit, I can fast forward this match. Not that I did, but in my brain, part of my brain shut off because it like didn't stimulate me to that point. You know what I mean? So I hate when they do that, because I know that there's a grander kind of grandiose plan they've got going on. But that just doesn't make any sense to me. When you're watching it as a program, as a viewer, you're sitting there going, are you insulting my intelligence? Are you making me feel like, okay, don't pay attention to what we advertise now. Pay attention to 4 weeks from now. You know what I mean? Like, you could have, it's an easy fix in my opinion. That's all I think about it. That's all.
No, I definitely don't disagree. I just think with a 3-hour show, they're like, how can we get multiple segments out of our top guys? And I think that's just what it is. Because I think if they had an hour or 2-hour show, I think it would have been exactly what you said. You would have the match, Orton with a surprise attack at the end, boom. And that's why my next piece of shine, WrestleMania, I would have put this on last, despite the fluky finish. Because once again, Sasha versus Asuka, man, just pump that into my arm all day and all night. I could watch these two go at it. I thought it was great once again. Sasha gets the somewhat definitive win of the title this time on Asuka, when she actually left the ring and got counted out to try to save Kyrie from Bayley. I know a lot of people were kind of against the finish, but I thought in terms of the storyline that it made perfect sense. And it also sets up Sasha versus Asuka 3 potentially at SummerSlam, which I'm all for, because I think that's where you'll get the definitive match. But I'm still digging this all. Once again, another rerun that I didn't hate.
So here's my question about this. People are bitching about the count out, right? They're bitching about it because they think, okay, well, it was definitely said by Stephanie McMahon, hey, we're doing this thing and everything's wonderful. Like, you got to basically win by, hook or crook. We kind of knew that there was some weird faultiness to it, and Bayley couldn't be involved because Bayley always helps. But when I was watching it, it almost made me feel like it was an odd way to write Kyrie off television. Like, it was just kind of like it was a nice way, like, to show how babyface Asuka is. but it's different. Like I don't know, it's like a different Asuka, right? So it's not like this train killer that was undefeated for almost a year and change. It's this woman who has a heart, and it's just odd to me to see her have a heart, because the train killer in her would have been like, fuck my friend, she's leaving anyway. I'm going to fucking win this. But I get that for the storyline purposes, that's what they were doing. But it was nice. It was a nice way to see, Sasha Banks basically trickle into getting the championship that she didn't really win to begin with. So it's helpful. I do want to say for this, I do want Bayley, Sasha. I know this is overexposed, and so I know that there's like the backcrackers like, oh, I can't believe you want this to happen, but this is how it is. I would want to see Bayley defend. I want to see Sasha defend. And then I want to see Bayley and Sasha defend those tag titles all on the same night, because I think that would, in a SummerSlam atmosphere, I think that's not necessary. I think it needs to happen because they have yet to do it. And I think that would give them a reason to bitch again. You know what I mean? And so I think having that as a caveat to SummerSlam would be great, because then you can have one at the beginning, have one in the middle, have one towards the end, and maybe somebody loses. Maybe they lose their tag titles. Maybe Sasha loses again. And, because every time it seems Sasha has the championship, she loses it in like 3 weeks. So who knows? But I think that would be amazing to have at SummerSlam, because I think it fits to their personalities that they're going with right now.
WrestleMania, I love that. Because you know what? Sasha and Bayley, they're double champions, and they're not cowards like that guy at NXT. Like, what an absolute coward just relinquishing a title. But that's neither here nor there. That's what I want. I remember a couple years ago, Seth Rollins was the world champion. He won the U.S. title, only had it for about a month, but I thought it was so exciting that, hey, this guy's going to have to wrestle twice in one night. It makes it interesting. It makes it intriguing. Having one guy with multiple feuds, too, seeing if they can bit off more than they can chew. So, yeah, I'm all for that. These two women are the hottest thing in all of wrestling right now. No matter what they do, they're so overexposed, and we don't care because they're so good. They're continuing to find ways to make themselves interesting. They're having bangers of matches. So you know what? Yeah, give me 3 matches at SummerSlam. Absolutely.
And wardrobe changes. Everybody loves a good wardrobe change. That would be great. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
So look, I'm gonna take over the shine for one moment here.
Do it.
I'm gonna tell you something that I really enjoyed, and I know you're gonna put this in the heat anyway, but I don't care because I'm gonna gush over this. I enjoyed the hell out of the bar fight. I thought that was outstanding. Outstanding, JC.
So you thought that I wouldn't like this?
No, I just think that there's something about it that makes you go, you're not really loving it or hated it. You're just kind of like, it is what it is.
So here's my take on the bar fight, because I was watching SmackDown on delay like I normally do on DVR, and I just happened to be on the timeline, and everyone was whining about how bad it was, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I thought, if anything, this would be good. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. They're trying all these different spots. They're using the entire bar, including the bathroom. They're going around. I'm like, this is good. Did it go a little too long for my liking? Probably, because I thought the commercial break in the middle of it kind of killed a lot of the momentum. I would have maybe found a way to keep this at the end of the match and, like, stack the commercials a bit higher in the show. But I like this match. I like the Willow tease for Jeff Hardy, because I think that's something interesting for his character, especially now. Like, where does Jeff Hardy go from this next? Obviously, you had the promos off the top of the show where he's admitting he's an alcoholic, which are uncomfortable and all that. But I think a possible Willow thing going on here could be really, really interesting for him.
I love this from top to bottom. I don't think it's the greatest thing they've ever produced, but To go back on what you said very quickly about having what I would have loved to do, and this is, I don't know if it's the right sponsorship or advertisement for, a SmackDown or not, but I would have had it sponsored by Jameson. The whole thing. Just the whole last half hour. That way it would have been commercial free with Jameson's logo or something like that. Yeah, that way you have a bar fight sponsored by Jameson. I think that'd be great.
Love it.
Right? Because then you get 30 minutes there, and you get your sponsors in, and they that's an in-segment sponsor, which everybody loves to have. So we do that, right? But then we get to the bar fight. I appreciated the fact that they showed up, they had a conversation before and it like percolated, you know what I mean? Like, it got to a point of they had to fight. Not like, I'm showing up, are you showing up? Like, let's fight. It was more of a like conversation. They started talking. Jeff Hardy even made a Matt Hardy reference, which I'm surprised made the cut, and the location was great. It was just, it felt very un-WWE-like. It felt as if it was an actual bar, because it was. And it just was constructed in a way that it made me kind of go, you know what? Bravo for them for trying, because I think that we've been watching a lot of wrestling that's been solid. But, we talk about all this all the time. having a no crowd or having the trained monkeys from NXT in the background just clapping and banging on the fucking things, which is fine, but like you need to have a location kind of thing to make it good. And WWE does a great job with their production. And I just love the whole like basketball spot. I thought that was great, getting pellet, just having him hum those basketballs, like that hurts. That hurts. Having them, you ask for the bar spot because in a fight, like someone's going to go across the entire bar and there's going to be a calamity. And just Sheamus was bringing those ham hock forearms across, like stuff like that. And just the ladder had to happen. I did chuckle at this because this is the one thing that I went, really? We're going to do this in a bar fight, was the Irish whip spot. But then I laughed because I thought about it. And, having an Irish whip is stupid because in wrestling, it's stupid enough to make that illusion happen because, everybody will forgive it in a wrestling ring. But having an Irish whip, and then I thought to myself, wait a minute, an Irish whip in an Irish pub, it's okay. So
by an Irishman.
And by an Irishman, exactly. So it was a triple Irish. Take a drink. But then, you go to, Jeeves attacks. The whole thing made sense with, like you said, with Willow. It was a nice little thing. In my opinion, I think Willow is going to be a placeholder for a little bit. We're going to get to expose that a little bit for a couple months. Then Jeff Hardy is going to get catapulted into, I think, Fiendland with Willow. I really do. I think that seems like it may not be right now, maybe a collision course in the fall, but it's not ready, but it's going to be in a couple months if they massage out this ghost Willow kind of whatever the hell it was. Because if you look at it very closely at the end, he closed his eyes, the contacts were gone, he opened his eyes, they had the regular eyes, and they made a sound effect like he was a Terminator. I appreciated that because it made me feel as if it's almost something that he can tap into when he needs to, sort of, kind of. It's not as good as The Fiend, but I think there's not a lot of baby faces that can do something like this, and I will buy it. And I think that as a fan, I will buy into Jeff Hardy. As much as I don't necessarily love him, I think that The Fiend can make me interested in what could potentially happen.
No, yeah, I completely agree with you that. That's a feud that I've been thinking about for a while. It makes a lot of sense. I think they could have a lot of fun with that down the line once The Fiend is done with Braun one way or another. So, yeah, for sure. But I do think you're right. It's not going to be right away. I think maybe we'll get more teases along the way because I don't think we're there yet, and I like that. They're continuing with these slow burn things, especially on SmackDown, leading these little clues of things, and I really like that.
So what else did you enjoy?
So it's kind of a smaller note, but Riddle, obviously, job alert, beat your boy Tony Nese, the man with all the abs.
Oh, my God, I love that.
Quicker. Yeah, he lost in about 2 abs, so 2 seconds there for him. But this is all about Riddle calling out Corbin. The King actually took a job at 205 Live, which made me chuckle. So that was pretty good. But my favorite part of this, and what I think could be really fun going forward if they run with it, is King Corbin put a ransom on Riddle's head. So I think this is interesting because it means that Riddle is unlikely going to probably get his hands on Corbin until SummerSlam. He'll have to deal with all these people trying to collect the ransom. I think that's something fun. He pretty much put a hit out on the guy. And I think that could be something really interesting in the lead up to SummerSlam.
I just want Matt Riddle to have an interaction with Corbin, and he's going to be like, I don't know what your problem is, bro. And then he's gonna look at Riddle and go, "Don't bro me unless you know me." Like I would die on the floor if Corbin just starts going, "Don't bro me, don't fucking bro me." That's stupid. Like he would get so agitated by it. You know what I mean? I think this is going to be an interesting concept because it's a WWE guy versus kind of the indie darling, as we talked about last week with TJ, about Matt Riddle just being that indie darling that everybody seems to love. Well, not everybody, but it's not a WWE style, and Corbin is definitely packaged in a way where he is the WWE guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think when these two do have their match, I think it'll actually be really good if given the time, just because of the clash of styles and the differences. That's why I think, like, obviously Corbin always has these fantastic matches with those indie darlings. Like, they're the former guys that ran shop on the indies, like the style, etc. So I think this could be a show stealer at SummerSlam. Ooh,
that's high praise coming from someone that's very, 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 very fickle. Excuse me, ficky. Excuse me. Fickle. I don't have the sound bar. Sorry, I can't talk. I'm so tired. Twins will do that to you.
Is there anything else you have as super shine on SmackDown? I have a few things, but they're more small.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're probably gonna joke about Miz and Morrison dancing to Naomi's music.
Oh my God, how amazing was that?
I did laugh. I thought the segment was okay. Having Lacey just kind of get like the lip gloss on her or the lipstick was like, okay, that's great, well, whatever. It felt like a very, I hate to say this because it's going to sound, I know how it's going to sound, but it felt like that segment, like the first portion of it with Naomi was great, having the support. Having Lacey come out and getting pushed and her makeup smeared, that second part just made me feel as if I was watching something from like 10 years ago and it was diva-ish. It didn't feel good. The first part was pretty good.
I don't disagree with that because I thought Naomi had a really good promo. Probably one of her better promos that I can remember. It actually made me buy in. Like, okay, yeah, I'd buy this. Bringing out Lacey, I thought made sense. She had the one quote where you're like, because Naomi's like, I've been here over a decade. And Lacey immediately comes out and goes, she's been here for over a decade. Doesn't have much to show for it. And I was like, boom. This is why Lacey's so good as a heel. But yeah, the little thing at the end, it didn't bother me as much as you, but it definitely wasn't as necessary because I thought they already sold me on the match for next week with the promos. But I completely understand your point.
Okay, so I'm pretty much done. I don't think there's anything else. If you want to just go lay out for all types of shiny things, go ahead.
Well, so no, the rest of my stuff is kind of tweeny because I liked part of it. Like, for instance, I enjoyed the Street Profits doing intros in the commentary, but the match, it's like the Zelina boys winning again. I get why they're doing it, and it'll probably be an awesome match at SummerSlam, but it didn't necessarily get me as excited as, obviously Cedric O'Shea would have been because it's something different. But, I mean, it's not really heat either, but it's more heat that the fact of, like, it's going to be a good match, but I'm not really excited for it.
I popped hard for Cedric the Sports Entertainer. I thought that was fantastic. Tremendous. It was tremendous. I didn't understand how we never thought of that, but it was great. And that was the best part. After they got in the ring and the bell rang, I didn't care. I did not care. They had to edit the sloppiness of Cedric O'Shea and the Viking Raiders, and CN and all that shit. Like, they were heavily edited. They cut away from things they don't normally cut away from. It's just, there's a lot. There's a lot that's going on. And I just went, okay, let's get the bad guys over. Let's do it. And they did, which was fine, as you said. But there's just so much more to be doing. And they gloated about how deep the tag division was. I almost threw up in my mouth. I almost threw up in my mouth.
That was the entire division right there.
Yeah, exactly. It was. You couldn't tell me that there was more tag teams that you could care. I don't even care about the tag teams in the ring, honestly. I mean, do you really care?
I wouldn't go that far, Nestlemania. Well, I care about Cedric O'Shea. I care about the Street Profits. The Viking Raiders, I'm kind of waiting to see what's next, and then I'm over the Zelina boys, because we know they're going to break up. Like, if they won the titles, I'd be shocked, but they just seem like kind of a placeholder for now.
I wouldn't be shocked. Here's the thing. I wouldn't be shocked if the Street Profits hold those championships for, like, another 6 months. There's nobody else.
Honestly. They should.
There's nobody else, and honestly, they're entertaining. So the wrestling can be sometimes because you can make up for it with their entertainment. That's exactly why they're there. And they're not guys that I'm going to sit there. Here's a statement that I'm sure is going to be considered a cold take. I don't necessarily think the Street Profits are going to be WWE Tag Team Champions that we're going to be sitting there going, these guys are the best tag team ever. They're going to be good. But when we look back 10, 20 years from now, we're not going to even really remember it. We're going to remember once they both break out and do something on their own. But they're not going to be the Legion of Doom. They're not going to be the New Age Outlaws or even the New Day. They're not going to be spectacular, but they definitely have something in this tag division. They are good for now. But I think that there's got to be like something going on with the Street Profits eventually later. It's just, I'm not excited with this tag division. And on SmackDown too, I'm just not excited for anything.
Oh, yeah, no, we don't. I mean, we can get to the heat.
Yeah.
Because the SmackDown tag division is non-existent, especially now with Kofi out for a little while. It's like, okay, so we have the champions, which are not Cesaro. That's correctly predicted by me and TJ, by the way. Then we have the Lucha House losers. I guess Miz and Morrison are still a tag team, but they haven't really been wrestling lately as a tag team. But the rest is just like the Forgotten Sons have been officially forgotten, it seems like forever, which is fine. And then the Usos are out with an injury, one of them is. So you're looking at it, it's like there's not much there. If there was ever, I know you guys talked about this last week, and I brought up a million times, if there was ever a time to unify the belts at SummerSlam, have the Street Profits versus Naka Cesaro, make one set, I think that'd be better for everyone. Plus, then you have the Street Profits kind of jumping around. It'd have more fresher matches and feud, but they're not going to do that.
No, I don't think they will. We talked about it ad nauseum last week, but I mean, the only thing that I could think about was the Undisputed Era has to be coming up after SummerSlam, right? Like, they have to be. They have to
Yes.
be.
Yes.
So, I mean, honestly, we're going to get some hodgepodge tag team. You know what I'll say right now? You're probably going to get Heavy Machinery versus Nakazawa in the pre-show of SummerSlam when they're, floating somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's so you can forget about Otis trying to cash in at some point. You know what I mean? So they're going to do whatever they got to do it. But there's not a lot of things going on. And I hate to bring this up because I know Cap's probably listening and going, every time I mention these 3 letters, but AEW has like 45 tag teams, and they just talk about how great their tag division is. They let all these good tag teams go, and it's so frustrating to looking at WWE and say, you're supposed to be so much better than them. Why do you have 2 tag divisions that are just fucking toilet water right now? They're toilet water. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, it's like we've mentioned ad nauseum. It's like having them split is stupid. The women's tag division is better just because at least they have awesome champions, even though their division is also thinning out now with the Kabuki Warriors, who I thought were the second best team, now gone. But it's a mess. I don't know. Do you want to talk about Sasha and Bayley on SmackDown? I wasn't as excited about this as the rap part because, Bayley's making crossface bliss, which I thought was interesting because it continues to tease a little dissension between those two because the winner gets a title shot. And Cross actually won after faking a rib injury because she's absolutely a scumbag. But I don't know. I'm not excited. I'm not excited for Bayley Cross. Sorry.
Well, it's a rerun. I think it's like the 3rd time they're doing it.
I don't care.
You know what's hard is that nobody takes Nikki Cross seriously. I think that's what it boils down
Agreed.
to. So, So you put her in the ring. She's definitely good. It's just there's only so many ways you can skin a potato, and there's only so many ways you can watch Nikki Cross wrestle. There's not a lot of layers to her. There's not a lot of essence or je ne sais quoi. There's not a lot of next step up evolution. She's not going to change her hair color. She's not going to change how she looks. She's just going to wrestle, and she's really good at it. But I don't think that there's something about Nikki Cross right now that makes people go, oh, yeah, I want to see her win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think she's a good sidekick to Alexa, and it worked. I think that's mostly run its course, but it's just I agree with you. I don't buy her as her on her own thing. I don't know. I don't think she can carry a division long term. So to me, this just feels like a placeholder before. I'm assuming we're going to get Bayley Naomi at SummerSlam the way this is going in this division, but not sure if you think differently.
Honestly, nobody's going to beat Bayley. Like Bayley might as well be Super Cena at this point. She
should hold it till Mania and then have Sasha beat her there. That's what I think should happen.
I mean, they've got 3 championships to lose now. I mean, space them out. Just you have somebody cost somebody at the Royal Rumble. Do it the old school way. But yeah, I'm not excited about that. Honestly, I wasn't even excited about Bayley and Sasha talking during the match because I felt like they took away from the match itself, and I was more interested in their ding dong hello, like all that crap that they do, more than whatever was going on in the matchup. So honestly, SmackDown to me, a lot of it was a wet fart. Honestly, a lot of it was, with the exception of the bar fight. So.
Well, you want to talk about a wet fart? How about Grand Metalik of all people out of nowhere? I don't think I've ever seen him win a main roster match, period, in singles competition, but he won a fatal 4-way to earn a shot at the IC title. And just like, what? It was out of left field. Grand Metalik's a great wrestler, but just like, I don't know. It was just like, okay, this doesn't get me excited. I give them credit for allowing like an undercard superstar to probably have a really good match with Styles, but to me, like, this was just like, out of those 4 guys in the match, he probably would have been my last choice.
You know what's funny? When I saw Grand Metalik win, I literally envisioned you watching going, huh? That must have been your exact reaction.
I was like, what the?
That must have been your reaction.
What?
Because the funniest part was that AJ Styles was out there, and he was like doing his AJ Styles thing where he's like, frickin' this and frickin' that, and all that stuff he does. I always love when he doesn't swear. He's just using other jargon that he's just this like Southern gentleman who cannot swear. It's great. But he put over Gable, who was having a day. Gable was having a day in that match, and
who?
Shorty G, sorry.
There you go.
Shorty G was having a match. Maybe that's why he couldn't win, because he couldn't say the entire alphabet. He only has 1 letter. He's lowercase g. He's lowercase g. Maybe when he graduates to uppercase G, he'll win a match or 2. But look,
at SummerSlam, he'll beat AJ for the IC title. Book it.
You're terrible. That's not going to happen. AJ Styles is holding on that championship
Okay.
forever.
Probably, but Shorty G at SummerSlam is getting a shot. I'm calling my shot now.
Well, maybe he will. I don't know. So it's odd to me that they had the Fatal 4-Way. They tried very hard, but it was just like Gulak, we already knew he had a chance. Shorty G was the one I thought was going to win, and then like the other two Lucha House losers, it surprised the fuck out of me that Grand Metalik won, because he was like, the fact that AJ Styles was like, Grand Metalik? Oh, it's metal. You know, he just like goofballed his name, didn't take him seriously, which again is great because I'm sure in the matchup it'll make sense. But I don't know. The IC championship just seems like another championship that I'm just not excited about either. I mean, AJ Styles is great, but I don't care. There's so much on SmackDown I just don't care about. They're trying.
Well, I'm curious your take here, Detective, because there was a Firefly Funhouse on SmackDown. It literally not much happened besides Bray revealing it was the Fiend's turn, but did this not get you excited?
You ready for this? You sitting down?
Yeah.
This was the worst Firefly Funhouse I've ever seen in my life.
Don't disagree.
And here's why. We have this.
Nothing happened?
Yeah. Jesus, don't fucking ruin my segment, goddammit. What I'm trying to say is that they didn't do anything that added any value to it, but what really fucking just grinds my gears is the best way to say it. We had this amazing swamp. Let me retract that. We had this good swamp fight, which ended the way I wanted it to. But you have Bray Wyatt say, "It's the Fiend's turn now." Like, okay, you know where that could have been slated? 2 weeks later when Braun Strowman came back. That's when you do it. You don't have him come out and say, "It's the Fiend's turn now." Like, don't. Have Braun Strowman come back first before you even have a Firefly Funhouse. It just seems like the order of things, like somebody must have put the wrong promo somewhere. That's what it felt like to me. Because it didn't do anything. It was a placeholder. It was a wet effing fart. That's how I felt about it, because I love these segments, but you need Braun Strowman. Here's my logic, and I know I'm on my own Nestle Island. I'm on Planet Flafluga. Whatever you want to tell me, I don't really care. But when you watch something logically, you go, okay, so he's in a swamp. You've percolated interest to me, right? Is he coming back? Is he coming back the same? Is the championship held up? We talked about this last week. TJ laid it out for me so I could talk for a little bit. All that shit's going down. But you have nothing of that. You basically cut off the balls of this entire thing by having the Fiend come out and go, "I didn't really have much to say, guys, so Fiend's gonna do stuff. Check out for that. That's fun. Here's my lantern. That's fun." Just like there was nothing. There was literally nothing. It was absolutely zero. They didn't think about it. They didn't go with anything. They were just like, it's Bray Wyatt. People will love it. Who cares? That's you need very much to let Braun Strowman come back first, because he has to look different or look that he's seen a ghost. Something ain't right with the man. You build interest to, SummerSlam. You don't just have him go, "It's the Fiend's turn now," because it doesn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? I don't know how you feel about it, but it drove me up a wall. I was so disappointed with that segment.
Yeah, no, it wasn't necessary to do what they did. And like you said, they killed all intrigue going forward. I don't know how they booked this going forward. We've seen this kind of with this feud. Like, I know part of it is because Bray hasn't been going to many tapings and stuff, because obviously he's not as comfortable with it. But I thought they gave it away. So it's like, okay, what are we going to do the next 3 or 4 weeks? Just like nothing? Recap packages? Because that's sure what it seems like.
You can do on location things. Like I said in the Hope, you could have people go looking for Braun Strowman. Put him on a fucking milk carton. I don't care. Do something. Add intrigue to it. At the end of a SmackDown episode, show the swamp and have Braun's hand come out of the water. Add intrigue. Do something. But don't tell me that the Fiend is going to have his turn now. Because it does nothing for me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I got nothing else to add on that.
Let's just move on. I don't want to talk more about this. It upsets me in ways I can't describe.
What else upsets you?
Oh, so much. So fucking much. You know what? Not a lot more on SmackDown, because I just hate SmackDown sometimes. We already talked about some of the good stuff. So here's the magic. Dominic doesn't talk. He has a relatively, in my opinion, decent segment, right? Like, so him not talking is what he needs to do. And for everybody, and I know everybody goats me on Twitter saying, oh, he's going to be the comeback of the year. Oh, yep, he's going to be this superstar. Imagine a couple of years from now and he's doing this, that, and the other thing. I don't give a shit, guys. He could save a baby from a building on fire, and I would never like Dominic Mysterio. That guy.
I'm going to write this down, WrestleMania, because when he becomes the next Rock, you're going to eat your words.
You're going to tell me he's the next Rock? Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. That guy has the personality of a wet napkin. A wet napkin.
So did The Rock. So did The Rock until he became The Rock.
Dominic Mysterio looks like he eats a microphone because he's so ready to shit his pants. That's what he looks like to me. Well, at least with a kendo stick, it was entertaining. I will give him that much. But Seth Rollins and Buddy had to beat the piss out of him for forever. And then, dress shoes Aleister Black comes out and does the whoop, whoop, whoop. And does
alert.
Yeah, you want to talk about that guy. That just upsets me anyway. But it's just they actually do the eye treatment to Black. The whole segment just felt like we had a chance here. We had a chance to set the table. And you know what we did? Nothing. It was just, and everybody's going to sit there and tell me, well, it could be Dominic versus Rollins at SummerSlam. You think they're going to have Rollins versus Dominic at SummerSlam? I would be shocked.
That'd be great.
I would be
That'd
shocked.
Be awesome.
No, it wouldn't be awesome.
So what I actually think will happen at SummerSlam is, because this seemed like there was a way for them to write Black off TV and hopefully repackage him for an 18th millionth time, but just get him the fuck away from Rollins and Murphy. Like, get him the fuck away for a while. Figure it out with him how to actually use him, or just on the SmackDown. Get him away from Raw, because it's done with him. So I actually did like the stuff between Seth and Murphy, kind of making his disciple do it too, because I think it kind of improved their bond a little bit. Did it take a little too long? Probably. But you did say something that I do agree with. Dominic beating Murphy with that kendo stick was awesome. I'm like, wow, Dominic actually knows how to swing a weapon. There's some progress. But I actually, at SummerSlam, I would suspect that I don't think Ray's done yet. I think we're going to get a tag team match playa where Ray and Dominic take on Seth and Murphy. That'd be my guess.
Ugh. Eye for an eye was enough. I'm done. I'm sorry, Danny. I know you're across the pond.
Unfortunately for you, they are.
No, I know. It's just I want to. You know what, Danny? I know you're going to listen to this anyway, and you're going to tell us we do a great job as always. But Mr. Grinwood, if you could listen to me very closely, explain to me how Seth Rollins and Dominic being in a segment together, or at WrestleMania, or at a Raw, or at a SummerSlam, whatever the case would be, why you would watch that. Explain to me why that's a good idea. Explain to me.
Honestly, I can answer that for you. Dominic, he is polarizing, whether it's because you're curious if he actually is good, or whether you hate him because he has the legacy and you think he sucks. Like, Dominic is a polarizing figure that we haven't seen actually do it. Like, he's been there. We've seen him struggle through promos. We've seen him sit next to Daddy. We've now seen him swing a kendo stick, but we haven't seen him actually in the ring yet. So it's intriguing. So putting him in the ring at SummerSlam, yeah, I think that's really interesting.
You upset me so much. You know that? You really do.
It's true. You know it. That's what you will hate watch the fuck out of the match, and you will be so excited for it because you will be looking for every little detail that you can pick apart the next week. That's why you'll be all in on that.
You know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. I would sit there and I would pick apart King Mysterio or Prince Mysterio, whatever the hell they're going to call him, because it's just stupid. Stupid. Sorry, I got nothing else. I just want to move on from this bullshit.
They also, randomly later in the night, Murphy had a match against Shimmy, who didn't come out and make the save to Aleister, who used to be a friend, but Murphy beats him all the same. This just felt out of place and unnecessary for me.
Yeah, they don't do segues. It's more as Billy would talk about, he just, he'd slap the wall and go, okay, hard cut, boom. That's just how it felt. There's no flow to and that's what happens when we have an edited show. There's no flow to it, folks. So, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Not a lot of stuff. Should we get hopeful?
Yeah, let's get hopeful, bro.
All right, go ahead. Do you have one?
You're my only hope. I do, WrestleMania. Thank you for asking. So on SmackDown, there was a backstage segment with the New Day members, Kofi Kingston and Big E. Kofi got some bad news from the trainer. He said he's probably going to be laid out 4 to 6 weeks, so their run as a tag team in the near future is done. But obviously the big thing that came out of this segment was Kofi saying to Big E, it's your turn. I've had my turn. I appreciate it. And you've sacrificed more than any of us because you could be such a big star, but you always put everyone else first before you. And it got me thinking, it's like, okay, well, if we look in the near future, Big E's probably not going to be going for that title right away. Could he maybe win the IC title and have a nice run there? Sure. But I'm thinking long-term with Big E. And I'm looking at it, and it's like, what would be a great way to make a new star, but they could also continue to build him up over the next half a year and really make it interesting? So here's my hope, WrestleMania. I want Big E to win the 2021 Royal Rumble. I think that would be a great way to do it. I think he could have a great showing. He's a bigger guy, so he can get a ton of elimination. And you know what? If there is a crowd or whether there isn't a crowd, people will be behind it because he's a new, fresh star that we love. People want to get behind Big E. They always have. He's entertaining. He's good in the ring. Like, he can get serious. Like, he has a diverse moveset for a big guy. He's willing to put his body on the line. He can cut promos. He's more than just a sidekick or a tag team guy. He really could be one of the faces of this company if done correctly because he has the charisma. He has the ability. So you know what? I think the Rumble's far enough away where you could start to maybe assert him a little bit and make him believable as the next world champion for WrestleMania. So that's my hope in WrestleMania. Big E to win the 2021 Royal Rumble. Hashtag JC knows. Hashtag JC's hopes come true.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, look, I would love to see Big E become champion. I think we all would. We know Vince McMahon loves the hip shaking and the jiggle and whatnot. So that entertainment aspect of it. And he looks good on television. You know, I think people respect him. I think he does a good job. So we'd all be behind it. And I think it may not be the Kofi. I don't have another way to say this. The release of excitement that you had when Kofi won. I think it would be almost the same, but I think Kofi kind of broke that glass ceiling in a way that we would wait in 11 years for. So, but I do believe that Big E is somebody you can plaster on a poster, a cup, put in front of the talk shows, do all that shit. Like he is somebody that he just has that charisma. He has that it factor that has just been waiting to boil over. And so, look, I'm all in. I'm all in for it, and I love it. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing for him, and I'm excited. I hope it doesn't mean the IC championship, but that's really where my hope is going to be anyway. My hope is about the IC title. It's a championship that has, arguably right now, the best wrestler in the world. Don't come at me, AEW, with your Kenny Omega bullshit, because right now he's not the best wrestler in the world. But AJ Styles, in my opinion, is kind of a man without an island, or kind of a man without a country, rather, and kind of just he's just kind of floating through space with the IC championship. And yes, he had that thing with Daniel Bryan. Yes, he had the Gulag thing. Yes, he's done the Riddle thing. But he doesn't really have that big feel. You know what I mean? So here's what I'm going to jump off the Big E thing that you just said. I think Big E versus AJ Styles at SummerSlam would be really entertaining. But to add to that onslaught, I think because we've seen what happened at the bar fight, I believe that Big E might beat AJ Styles, and then maybe we have Sheamus and Big E battle for the IC championship, because Sheamus have never won it, and I assume he's got to win it before he's done, because WWE likes to check those boxes to make sure people are Grand Slam champions before they're fully done. But I think that Sheamus has been doing a lot of great work now, even though the uncomfortableness of the alcoholic thing. I think you need somebody like Sheamus to believe that Big E is not just a goofball. And I think Sheamus brings out that side of people. He did it for Jeff Hardy, as much as I don't like either of them really that much. But I think my hope is having Sheamus interjected with Big E, or maybe the IC title reign, would be great, because you need to take Big E seriously in order to see this catapult, that launch happen. Because otherwise, he can yuck it up forever. He's already been an IC champion. He can be a United States champion or whatever. But he has to put down the pancake and the gyration, or put it where it's supposed to in the matchup. But I think Sheamus can do it in a way where, even if it's not for the IC title, I think having a feud right now, you need to have Big E be taken seriously right away. You can't wait right away. Because if it's a first impression and you're going to reboot him, essentially, you need to have... We already know he's funny. We already know he can do all these things that you just described. But Sheamus can bring out that thug, that fight, that kind of like that darker, that feeling of like, we don't care that the Rock and Austin could wrestle, right? But they had that dark, that street thug kind of like just bashing, brawling kind of style. And I have not seen Big E do that. He's more of a finesse dude. He can do an amazing thing, and we know he's strong. But I want to see him just club people. And I think having Sheamus versus Big E would be just a clubbering that I'm okay with.
Yeah, I like it. I think that would be great. I agree with the IC title thing. I think that would be good too. But like you said, I'd be fine with that on its own.
All right, I believe it is now time for the comeback, as you like to say. It's they've been here for years. And my particular comeback has been here for years. I'm going to give it to Nia Jax for coming back this week, folks. The greatest wrestler on the planet in the women's division.
Shut the front door.
She is in a program, it seems, or a collision course, as Gorilla Monsoon would say, with one Shayna Baszler, which again they had a promo. It didn't go very well. It was a fight. Then they had a match that didn't really become a match, and they had to fight and beat up other people because they can beat up males. That's fine. But if a male beat up a woman, that's bad. But that's okay. We're not going to get into that right now. They have the whole thing. They beat up officials. No one's going to get fined because it's WWE and all that jazz. But I am excited to see Nia Jax on my television. Again, you want to talk about polarizing figures? I know everybody hates her. I think that she does that. She has that Samoan swagger. And I think that as much as people don't like her, I think it's even better because when she's on the TV, she gets that visceral reaction, whether it's an eye roll, whether it's you pound your fist, you scream. And I think Nia Jax is good television, folks. I think that she, whether you like her or not, she gets a reaction out of you. And I think Shayna Baszler needs to be shown that badass feeling that she could have. I like the way she kind of like walked to the ring when her match. She kind of stomped in and then the match just started. So I think, again, Nia Jax is the perfect opponent for Shayna Baszler. I think they'll both do wonders for each other. I was kind of hoping that one of them would challenge, Sasha at SummerSlam, but that's probably not going to happen. So we have this random match for now. But I think both these women need this thing to do kind of reset what they were because they were kind of both, needing something.
Yeah, I don't disagree because I think, honestly, this feud, I think the lead-up for it will actually be pretty good because I think Baszler cuts fantastic promos. Nia, if she keeps it short, can be pretty solid too. You definitely felt the hate in this. My one issue with the segment this week is they had that brawl, they go to commercial, then they come back from break and they're just gone and it was something else. And I was just like, that was weird to me. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. My one hope for this feud will be that whatever they do at SummerSlam, please don't make it a regular match. This needs to be like a street fight or a brawl or something because no one wants to see an actual match between these two, but I do want to see a fight.
So what if they put it in the NXT pit cage?
That would be interesting. I would prefer a regular street fight, though, because I'd like to see them kind of go around a bit. I'd like to see them both be able to use the scenery more than in that pit cage, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have that in your back pocket for Shayna moving forward.
I think that could be her match because she's just, as we've talked about, she's just not the WWE style, and she's so good, but she's just, when the bell rings, we're just like, like no one ever really talks about her matches as much anymore. It seems like they've just
it's not her style to be flashy. Her style is to grind you out, ground you, and tap you out. Like, that's never going to be sexy, but it's effective, and that's why it's weird in this feud because she's going to be presented as the babyface, and I think they know that people kind of want to get behind her, but the way she wrestles is like it's 100% heel. So I'm assuming this is just going to be a temporary little baby type feud for her, but I think it isn't anything they can do long term.
If you think that Shayna Baszler, I'm just curious on your take on this. If Shayna Baszler had shorter matches, do you think people would be more behind her?
I think that would help, but then again, it's just like nothing she's going to do in those matches are going to get you super boned up because she's ground, she's pound, she's submissions. Like, there is literally nothing about her style that is sexy, and it's not meant to be. She's a fighter, and she does whatever it takes to just like choke you out. So it's always going to be tough with her, but there are ways to do it effectively. Like, her run in NXT was really good. It's just the matches never stood out because you're comparing them to these freaking like indie matches where guys are kicking out of everything. So of course the ground and pound is going to be at the bottom, but her actual run as champion was good because she was unbeatable, and that's how she needs to be presented.
Okay. All right.
You ready for my comeback, WrestleMania?
I'm ready.
Are you sitting down?
I am.
My comeback isn't going to a person. It's going to an entire company. My comeback here on July 28th, 2020 is going to Impact Wrestling? What? Did you hear that correctly? Yes, WrestleMania, you did. Obviously, they're coming off their big Slammiversary show. They're having an infusion of former WWE guys, which kind of percolated my interest. Most notably, those EC3 promos that he's been posting have been off the charts good. He finally debuted last week. He attacked Moose, who's like a fake champion. So that's interesting. Your boys, the Good Brothers, arrived. They're being presented, Sean. He may not have his last name anymore, but he's there. That's exciting. Deonna Purrazzo wins the women's title. Even your boy, Shitty Eric Young, is given a big debut. And I know Ray Ray will pop for this. The Motor City Machine Guns reunited and won the tag titles last week. Ending the North's big reign, and Eddie Edwards, once again, the big, like the face of TNA pretty much, TNA babyface, is a representative for the title, which I think is the right call. So, WrestleMania, all these things together. I watched Impact last Tuesday. I enjoyed it. I'm going to watch it again this week. I think it's going to be in my rotation. Probably a late night thing when I can't sleep, but you know what? They deserve my comeback this week because they're interesting.
I'm sorry. You totally ruined your comeback by saying I'm gonna watch it late night when I can't sleep, which it would imply that Impact Wrestling puts you to sleep. No, I'm just saying that you sound like you're saying Impact would make you sleep.
So I might as well watch something good.
No, you see, that's not the correlation that went to my brain, and I think everybody heard the exact same thing I heard. You basically said
that's a you problem.
That is not a me problem. You fall asleep to wrestling, which is cute, but.
I do. I fall asleep to Raw like every week when Seth Rollins is in the main event.
See, but now you're making
fall asleep and I have to wake up and finish it.
See, that's the correlation, though. You're saying it puts you to sleep. So Impact Wrestling eventually will put you to sleep.
No. The difference is Impact. I can't fall asleep because it's good now. That it was just something like now I have this. It'll be interesting once I'm back in the building and shifts start with more late nights. But right now it's just like I can't sleep, so I need more things to watch. So Impact Wrestling got added to the rotation, and now I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to stay.
Well, I look to Ray Ray's article every week on Impact Wrestling because apparently he's not going to do it.
For it.
I challenge Ray Ray to do it. He won't do it. He's got things to do. So baseball.
Yeah, he's a busy man. He's back to work now too.
Yeah, but good for him. Don't tell me how great Impact Wrestling is and then tell me we can't put it on thejobberknocker.com. Just saying. Challenge. Somebody accept me. Anybody out there? Anybody want to write about Impact Wrestling? Challenge. Throwing the gauntlet down. If it's so great, let's write about it, folks.
Hey, I look forward to that. I will probably never be able to watch it live, which is part of the problem. So.
Well, it's a tape show. Nobody watches it live.
Well, I don't watch any wrestling live really anymore.
Nobody does. Nobody does. Hey, look, as long as somebody wins the 18 to 49 demo, everybody wins, right? So, oh well.
Oh my God. I will say this about this whole 18 to 49 demo thing. As much as stupid as Jericho's being with all this stuff, he's not wrong because between the two products, AEW is more of that type of product to appeal to those people. Even though AEW's had a lot of negatives lately, I still find it exciting because it is different from the WWE style, especially the NXT style, which I do enjoy. But AEW does have a little more of the grittiness and a little more of that stuff, at least it seems. You can say what you want about it. So it does make sense that they win that demo every week.
I don't really care about the demo. I don't care about the total viewers. Listening to Tony Khan explain anything sounds like an excitable teenager. It's just, oh my God. I applaud him, and I think he's probably a stud when it comes to numbers and all the clearly he's a billionaire. He knows what he's doing, regardless of how he got the money. That doesn't matter. But he's clearly a fan. But just when he talks, I'm just, oh my God, it's just. It makes me not want to tune in. It makes me not want to support the product. I don't know what it is about the guy. I just don't like him. I don't. And
well,
okay.
No, I was gonna say, lucky for you, he's never on the actual AEW shows. You don't have to worry about that.
No, I know. And so here's the other thing too about AEW, and we might as well be in the big finish. So 1, 2, 3, there it is. Oh no, he kicked out. But this is what it is, right? What a maneuver. This is the biggest thing that I think about when I take away when I watch AEW. Its presentation is supposed to be different. It is different. It feels different. It looks different. Whatever. They do a great job with it. There are a lot of guys that I applaud and I'm excited to see, and I'm always, boned up to watch wrestle. But there's something about the program that feels as if they've lost incredible steam. There's nothing about it that makes me go, oh yeah, I got to tune in to watch this. And I think right now they're holding on. You can say they win a demo. I don't give a shit. I know advertisers will keep going and they'll have this, they'll have that. That's fine. But as a viewer, and I know my opinion doesn't count as a viewer. It doesn't count anyway, but it just doesn't count in general. AEW had that steam, had that momentum, and it just felt like whack. Now I'm watching somebody get up before the 10 count in boxing. They're trying to get their ball bearings together, and it doesn't feel the same on the upside, they have a lot of amazing tag teams. They have a lot of fresh new faces. You know, Cody's doing these random things, although I'm not a huge fan of Cody anymore. They're doing things differently. But AEW in general doesn't make me... Honestly, I haven't watched a full AEW show without fast-forwarding. So...
Well, I mean, I've never, ever done that with any wrestling show. But I will say this is kind of what I warned you when AEW came and you and a lot of other people like had the biggest boners of all time. This is the greatest thing ever. I'm like, it's going to wear off and it's not going to be new at some point. And all these people that were like the Darby Allins of the world that we're really seeing for the first time and like they're not going to get old, but they're not going to be new anymore. And when things kind of lose like their new value, they're not as shiny anymore. And it becomes like, okay, yeah, I've seen Kenny Omega and the Elite take on the Inner Circle before. I've seen this. I've seen a lot of MJF now. So, like, the shine was bound to come off at some point just because it is. But I think, obviously, like, the pandemic, much like it has affected WWE, has really limited what these things can do without a crowd. Because I think part of what made AEW so special in that initial run was how hot the crowd was for it, with the small arenas and, like, the noise. And it really felt like those old-school shows. And that obviously is a big reason, the big things they've lost, and I think that's definitely taken away from it. But I think the other part is that we've seen these guys a lot now. Like, they're bringing in, like, the new guys, like the Brian Cages of the world and stuff. But for the most part, like, a lot of the people that we were super excited about, we've seen plenty now. So they're not new shiny toys anymore.
I don't think, here's the thing. I don't think acquisition, and again, it doesn't matter what I think, but I don't think acquisition-wise.
Well, duh.
Yeah, obviously. Acquisition-wise, I don't think they've grabbed one person that I've went, oh my God, besides the Revival. Like, other than that, I've gone, like Brian Cage, who gives a shit? Eddie Kingston, you can send the hate tweets at Nestlemania, go ahead, because I'm blocked or protected or whatever. I don't really give a shit. But Eddie Kingston, I don't really care for. He's a decent dude, but like, I don't care about that. Like, all these open challenges don't matter to me yet. They keep adding people that they're like, oh, this guy's great on the indies. Yeah, well then stay on the indies, you know, and there's something to be said here where, you know, you can tell the difference between an AEW match and you can tell the difference between a WWE match. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's definitely two different styles, and I think that's what AEW had to do. I will say this about the Eddie Kingston thing, because I didn't know who the fuck he was, and obviously I was away this week, so I didn't really know much about him, but I did watch that match, and I will say, as a one-off, if that's all it is, like, I thought that was fun. The tag spots were interesting. I thought it was, once again, just a showcase of, like, Cody being great to continue to build him up. So whoever eventually beats him is really going to look like a stud. But for something that was a one-off, I didn't hate it. I will say, though, I think they have to be careful with these open challenges about continuing to bring in people outside the company to fight for their title. It's like, I'd like to see more of, like, the Sonny Kisses of the world, like they did those ones, like people already on your company getting a shot, as opposed to these surprises every week, which are fun, but I don't think that should be something they should do every week, because this is the title that represents your show. Like, it should be available to the people on your show first. That is the one thing I think they do have to be careful of.
I totally agree, because Warhorse apparently is going to get it, and he's been an independent wrestling champion for a while. Dude's amazing, but I just, you know, as you said, like, they've got 45 guys in the background that are eating catering or not showing up or whatever the reason is. You know, obviously maybe they want to stay home, but I mean, for Christ's sake, like, they've got so many people that I can think of on the top of my head that don't even do anything at all. But I mean, they gush over everybody.
I feel like 3/4 of the roster is AEW Dark only at this point. So.
Yeah, and then does anybody watch AEW Dark? I'm not trying to be an asshole. Like, does anybody have the time to watch that? I don't know.
I if I see something interesting, I'll throw it in, but I can't weekly watch it. I know there's definitely a lot of people who do, because that's the big reason why they're continuing to do it. They're clearly getting the hits, but yeah, it's not something that's fully in my rotation. I do appreciate that our boy, the Joe Stopper, runs down the card in his report, so I can be like, ooh, yeah, I'll make sure I got to check this one out, or ooh, that looks interesting, I can check this out. So thank you, Joe Stopper, for that.
The Joe Stopper, always giving you your AEW needs. Anything else in the big finish?
On SmackDown this week, we have a Bayley Cross rerun for the women's title, don't really care. AJ Grand Metal League for the IC title, don't really care. Naomi Lacey, I'm intrigued. But the big news, Nestlemania, on SmackDown is the power couple of WWE, Otis and Mandy, return to our television. Mandy's fresh off she's had a bunch of shoots. I think that's why she's been away. She's going to be all over magazines, as she should be. She's the biggest star in the women's history, but I'm excited for their return.
So you're excited for Mandy?
And Otis. That's Mr. Money in the Bank, baby.
Mandy.
Oh.
Is what it is, folks. Is what it is. If it's exciting to you, then it's exciting in general, I guess. People are excited about Otis.
It's always in the shine, baby.
Yeah.
Always in the shine.
All right. Well, I don't think there's anything else left to say here, unless you got something else you want to lay out for. You can socialize the pod.
I don't got shit, but you know what you can do? You can leave us 5 stars and 5 flames on iTunes, Anchor, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and like on YouTube. That's where the shows are archived. It really does go a long way. So we appreciate a 5-star view. And hey, guys, here's the kicker. You can re-rate us every week if you just simply click 5 stars every week. It does us a lot of good. So if you can, we'd appreciate that. You can do it right in the iTunes app if you do that. Also, jobberknocker.com, as we mentioned. That's our website where you can find our great weekly NXT and AEW reports from TJ and the Joe Stopper. They're must-reads for everyone every week, whether you watch the show or not. You're going to be even more informed, and those guys do a great job. Obviously, when NXT UK and NWA Power return, we have coverage on those. Maybe someday we'll have Impact coverage. Now they're catching steam. So that is up to someone out there, though. If anyone would like to do that. Also, there's all sorts of great articles on there. I know TJ had a great Undertaker piece a few weeks ago, but that stuff, obviously, our archives are always good to check out because there's some really good stuff there. But also, Twitter, at Jobberknocker, at Nestlemania, at JC of the JK, at DQ of the JK, at Ray of the JK, at Billy2411, at Joe Paulus47, at TJ of the JK, and at The Real Deal B. Cox. Facebook Jobberknocker, Instagram Jobberknocker, because Nestlemania, where are we?
We're everywhere you want to be on social media.
Yes, sir.
And on that note, folks, we hope that you enjoyed listening to the Jobber Knocker. We will be back next week with more Jobber Knockery.
And Mandy. Ah!